Have you ever carried a secret so heavy that one letter could destroy the life you built? Axel Harper stared at the blinking cursor on his laptop screen the same way he had stared at Benjamin Caldwell every morning for 3 years. The Manhattan skyline glittered beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows of the 32nd floor, but the view felt like a cage tonight. At 26, Axel still looked like the wide-eyed kid from Ohio who had arrived with a degree, a cheap suit, and the desperate hope that no one would notice the way his heart raced when the CEO walked past. Benjamin was 42, 6'3", with shoulders that filled doorways and a voice that could quiet an entire boardroom. He never raised it. He didn't need to. People simply listened. Axel had listened so closely that he memorized the exact pitch of Benjamin's laugh, the faint scar above his left eyebrow, the way he loosened his tie after a 12-hour day. Those details lived inside Axel like stolen photographs he could never delete. The resignation letter waited in a plain white envelope on the corner of his desk. He had rewritten it 7 times, always deleting the final paragraph, the one that said the truth. Tonight the paragraph stayed. "I'm leaving because I'm in love with you." He closed the laptop before he could delete it again. The office was empty except for the hum of the air conditioning and the distant siren of an ambulance racing down Fifth Avenue. Axel slipped the envelope into his messenger bag and walked out without looking back. The next morning the city smelled like rain and coffee. Axel rode the elevator alone, clutching the bag like it might explode. When the doors opened on 32, he almost turned around. Almost. Instead, he walked straight to Benjamin's office and placed the envelope on the glass desk. Benjamin looked up from his monitor, eyes the color of winter ocean. "Morning, Axel. You're early. Read it when you have a minute, sir." Axel's voice stayed steady, even though his pulse felt like it was trying to escape his throat. He spent the rest of the morning pretending to update spreadsheets while every nerve waited for the storm. At 10:17 a.m., Benjamin's door clicked shut. At 10:23, the intercom buzzed. "Axel, my office." Now. Benjamin stood by the window, letter open in his hand. The paper trembled slightly. "Explain this." Axel swallowed. "It's exactly what it says." Benjamin turned. For the first time in 3 years, the CEO looked lost. "You're serious?" "I've never been more serious in my life." The silence stretched until it hurt. Benjamin set the letter down carefully, as if it might burn him. "You realize what this does?" "I do." Axel met his gaze without blinking. "That's why I'm resigning." Outside the glass walls, the open-plan floor began to stir. Phones rang. Keyboards clicked. No one knew yet that the quiet secretary had just dropped a grenade into the center of Caldwell and Partners. But they would. Soon. By noon, the rumor mill had started. Sarah from accounting cornered Axel by the printer. "Did you really quit?" "Like actually quit." He nodded once. "But why? You're literally Benjamin's right hand." Axel offered a small smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Personal reasons." Personal. The word felt like a lie wrapped in truth. He spent the afternoon clearing his desk while colleagues drifted past with questions they didn't dare ask. Benjamin stayed locked in his office, the blinds drawn for the first time anyone could remember. At 4:45 p.m., the door opened. Benjamin stepped out, tie gone, sleeves rolled up. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Everyone out." "Axel, stay." The floor emptied faster than a fire drill. When the last footsteps faded, Benjamin closed the door and leaned against it. "I read it again. 3 times. And I don't know what to say to you." Benjamin's voice cracked on the last word. "You've been here every day? Every crisis. Every win. And I never saw it. You weren't supposed to." Benjamin crossed the room until only the desk separated them. "Why now? Why not just keep carrying it?" "Because carrying it was killing me." Axel's throat tightened. "Every time you smiled at me, I died a little. Every time you said, 'Good job, kid,' I remembered I'm not a kid and I never will be what you need." Benjamin stared at him for a long moment, then did something Axel never expected. He laughed, a short, broken sound. "You think I don't need you?" The words hung between them, dangerous and warm. Axel's heart slammed against his ribs. "Don't say things you don't mean." "I mean every word." Benjamin stepped around the desk until they stood inches apart. "But this company is my father's legacy. My marriage." "You're married?" The question slipped out before Axel could stop it. "Separated. 6 months. Nobody knows yet." Benjamin rubbed his face. "And now this. The board will lose their minds. The press will have a field day. CEO's male secretary confesses love in resignation letter. They'll tear us apart. Axel picked up the last box. Then I'll leave quietly. You'll never hear from me again. Benjamin caught his wrist. The touch burned. That's the last thing I want. For one heartbeat, the world narrowed to Benjamin's hand on his skin and the possibility that maybe love didn't have to end in goodbye. Then the intercom buzzed. Mr. Caldwell, the board just called an emergency meeting. They heard something. Benjamin let go. The moment shattered. Axel walked out carrying his box and the first cracks of a life about to break wide open. The board meeting lasted 4 hours. Axel waited in the lobby pretending to scroll through his phone while security escorted him past the glass doors he would never walk through again. His phone vibrated. Unknown number. Axel, it's Benjamin. Meet me at the rooftop bar on 53rd. Midnight. Please. He almost deleted the text. Instead, he went home changed into the only decent shirt he owned and stood on the rooftop at 11:58 p.m., watching the city sparkle like it hadn't just imploded. Benjamin arrived at 12:07 looking like he'd aged 10 years. He ordered 2 whiskeys neat and slid one across the table. They want me to issue a statement denying everything. Of course they do. I told them no. Axel's glass froze halfway to his lips. Why? Because it's true. Benjamin's eyes were red-rimmed. I spent the last 6 hours realizing I've been lying to myself longer than you've been lying to me. The confession should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like falling. Axel set the glass down. What are you saying? I'm saying I feel it too. The way you look at me. The way I look back when I think no one's watching. I just never let myself name it. Benjamin reached across the table, stopping short of touching Axel's hand. But naming it doesn't fix the mess. My father's on the board. My soon-to-be ex-wife is threatening to take the kids to California. And the press is already calling. Axel stared at their almost touching fingers. So what now? Now we decide what kind of men we want to be. Benjamin's voice dropped. I can fight the board. I can lose the company. But I can't lose the chance to see where this goes. If you still want me after everything I just put you through. The wind whipped across the rooftop, carrying the smell of rain. Axel thought of his mother back in Ohio who still sent him church pamphlets. He thought of the apartment he could barely afford without a job. He thought of Benjamin's tired smile and the way it made every risk feel worth it. I still want you, he said. But I won't watch you destroy your life for me. Benjamin's hand finally closed the gap. Their fingers laced together, warm and certain. Then help me build a new one. Below them, the city kept moving, unaware that 2 men had just stepped off the edge of everything they knew. The next 3 weeks blurred into headlines and hotel rooms. Benjamin stepped down as CEO, effective immediately. The board voted 7-2. His father didn't speak to him for 9 days. Axel moved his 2 suitcases into a furnished apartment in Brooklyn that Benjamin paid for without asking. They didn't touch each other for the first week, just sat on opposite ends of the couch talking until the sun came up. Then one night Benjamin reached for him and the dam broke. No fireworks, just quiet, desperate kisses that tasted like relief and fear. They fell asleep tangled in sheets that smelled like new beginnings. But the world refused to stay quiet. Axel's mother called crying. People at church are asking if it's true. Tell me it's not true, honey. His best friend from college texted, Bro, you could have told me. But the company? That's nuclear. Benjamin's 12-year-old daughter sent a letter from boarding school. Dad, I don't care who you love. Just come get me for Thanksgiving. The hardest call came from Benjamin's soon-to-be ex-wife. You ruined us for a secretary? Benjamin hung up without answering. Afterward, he sat on the fire escape, smoking a cigarette he hadn't touched in 15 years. Axel joined him. I keep waiting for the part where I regret it, Benjamin said. It never comes. Axel rested his head on Benjamin's shoulder. Same. They flew to Ohio for Christmas. Axel's mother met them at the door, eyes swollen. She hugged Benjamin first. You hurt my son, I'll bury you in the cornfield. Benjamin smiled for the first time in days. Fair. On Christmas Eve they walked through the snow-covered fields. Benjamin stopped under a bare oak tree. I sold my shares. Starting a new firm. Smaller. Honest. I want you to run marketing. Axel laughed until he realized Benjamin was serious. You trust me with that? I'd trust you with everything. They kissed under the cold stars, and for the first time the future felt bigger than the past. Spring brought new storms. The new firm Caldwell Harper Partners opened in a converted warehouse in Red Hook. Only 7 employees. No corner offices. Just long tables and second chances. Clients trickled in slowly, curious about the scandal that had cost a legacy millions. One afternoon, Axel found Benjamin staring at an old photo of his father on the desk. "He still won't return my calls." Axel wrapped his arms around him from behind. "He will. Or he won't. Either way, you built something real." That night, they hosted their first team dinner. Laughter echoed off brick walls. Someone started a toast. "To the resignation letter that saved us all." Benjamin raised his glass, eyes shining. To Axel, who was brave enough to write it. Later, in their tiny apartment above the office, Axel pulled out the original letter, now framed on the wall. The ink had faded, but the words remained. Benjamin read it aloud softly. "I'm leaving because I'm in love with you." He looked up. "Best decision you ever made." Axel smiled. "Second best. First was staying." But the past wasn't done. Benjamin's ex-wife filed for full custody, citing unstable environment. Court dates loomed. Axel sat through every hearing, holding Benjamin's hand under the table. When the judge ruled joint custody, Benjamin cried in the hallway for the first time Axel had ever seen. "I almost lost them because I was afraid to be honest," he whispered. "You didn't lose them," Axel said. "You found yourself." 1 year later, the rooftop bar on 53rd hosted a different kind of meeting. Axel stood at the same table where everything had started, now wearing a simple silver band on his left hand. Benjamin knelt in front of him, surrounded by their closest friends, family, and the 7 employees who had become family. "Axel Harper, you taught me that love isn't a resignation. It's a beginning. Will you marry me?" Axel pulled him up, laughing and crying at the same time. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." Later, they stood at the railing, watching the city that had once tried to break them. Benjamin's father had shown up at the proposal unannounced. They hadn't spoken yet, but the older man had nodded once. It was enough. Axel leaned into Benjamin's side. "Remember the question?" "Which one?" "The one I started with. Have you ever carried a secret so heavy?" Benjamin kissed his temple. "I don't carry it anymore. I share it with you." Below them, New York kept moving, but up here, 2 men had finally stopped running. In the end, this story isn't about a resignation letter. It's about the moment we stop hiding. Axel and Benjamin remind us that love worth having always costs something: pride, status, safety, but the price of pretending is always higher. Be honest with yourself first. The rest of the world might catch up slower than you want, but it will. And when it does, you'll already be free.